So we have a special treat to start the podcast off. We got a email submission. We've been reading Soldier's Garden by Jack Vance, and turns out that the head of the Department of Health, the National Department of Health, is a huge fan, and he wanted to share a book review. So we've got this recording sent to us by RFK Jr. So here it is.
Hello, boys. This is Robert Kennedy Jr. You call me Bobby. I'm a huge fan of the show, and I heard that you're reading the classic fantasy trilogy Lioness by Jack Vance, and I wanted to read along with you and maybe help contribute to the show. And there's a part of the book, I'm only in Soldier's Garden, the first book in the trilogy, and there's a part of the book that I haven't heard anyone talk about before, but that really touched me deeply and concerned me and fits in quite well with what I'm working on with the current administration and the health of this country, and that was the horrible warts on the ogre's cock. And I feel no one is talking about the epidemic of warts, warty cocks in the ogre community.
He's got a point.
And it's obvious to me that this is the result of the overreach of the pharmaceutical industry and their money-grabbing forcing upon all of us of these untested, unproven vaccines. And I just want to say to you and your listeners that I will be presenting a plan to President Trump on how to deal with the epidemic of ogre cockwarts. And I just want rest assured that those cocks are in safe hands with me, the head of the Department of Health and Human Services. We'll be taking good care of them and handling the situation as gracefully as we can, but no more vaccines causing cockwarts. Again, I love the show and look forward to reading Green Pearl with you boys. Bobby out.
Wow, it's great to have a high-profile fan. And,
can you believe it?
That's crazy.
Guys,
he seems sincere.
I'm glad he's enjoying the book, and we hope for good things for the country. I don't.
We could at least.
It's pretty serious.
Yeah,
it's pretty serious
absolutely.
business.
We could list it in the side effects now.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Probably have to.
Yeah. So yeah. Thanks to RFK for contributing.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir.
Be sure to like and
it.
subscribe.
Yeah.
Hello, Michael Vannon, and welcome to the Under Towers podcast. My name is Steven.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Sam.
And tonight we have a recurring episode. We have part 2.0 of our Tropes discussion. Tonight we have a fun little twist on it that we'll discuss in a moment. But first, I got one bit of news, and it's a doozy. And I don't know if you guys have heard this yet.
A newsy doozy.
Did you hear about this? Okay.
What?
But maybe Sam hasn't. So
how do you already know his news?
Well,
because I saw the news.
It is kind of
you guys texted
It is
about
news.
this without me.
No, we didn't.
I promise we didn't, but it is news.
I hear news,
Dude,
too.
I'm just
Any news? You just know all news.
I'm
reading the internet all the time.
Daniel has his finger on the
Daniel
pulse.
is a troll. He doesn't have warts.
Those are ogres. They haven't transmitted to the troll community
well,
yet.
he's unvaccinated.
Daniel has his finger on the warts.
But he's anti-vax, anti-ogre vax. Go on.
So we're recording here today, March 26th, and today
an auspicious day.
A huge live stream from Marvel Studios, freaking 5.5 hours long. Did not watch, but they unveiled the cast for Avengers Doomsday, which I guess is a two-part Super Trooper Marvel movie. This is the one that was announced last year with Downey Jr. returning as Dr. Doom. The next giant event movie. But they announced it's still speculated that this is not the entirety of the superheroes in the cast. But these are the names that were released. Chris Hemsworth as Thor, Tom Hiddleston as Loki, Anthony Mackie as Captain America, Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, Letitia Wright as Black Panther, Simu Liu as Shang-Chi, Danny Ramirez as the Falcon, Winston Duke, M'Baku, the entire cast of Thunderbolts. So Sebastian Stan as the Winter Soldier, Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova, Wyatt Russell as U.S. Agent, David Harbour as Red Guardian, Hannah John Kamen as Ghost, and Lewis Pullman, according to Hollywood Reporter, a character at this time simply known as Bob. And then Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, James Marsden, Rebecca Roman, Kelsey Grammer, and Alan Cumming from the old school X-Men movies.
I like this news.
As well as Channing Tatum, who never got his Gambit movie, but played Gambit in Deadpool and Wolverine. And then also the Fantastic Four, so Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Iban Masbarach, and Joseph Quinn, and apologies if I'm mispronouncing, Tenoch Huerta Mejia, who played Namor in Black Panther.
No, that's definitely right.
And so that's 26 actors announced, not including Downey Jr. And then
wait, did you?
Spider-Man, Tom Holland wasn't
Is
announced.
Xavier happening?
Yeah.
Did you say Patrick Stewart?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen era
Man.
Xavier and Magneto.
Rip James McAvoy.
Chris Evans has not been officially announced, but everybody is anticipating his return.
As the flame.
Yes. No, as Steve Rogers.
Man, what a resurrection that would be.
So here's kind of my thing, and I will admit fully, as I have in the past, that I am out of touch with current superhero stuff. I have not really watched anything except for Deadpool and Wolverine in quite some time. So I am behind.
Yeah.
However, what concerns me is this feels very much like a continuation of a lot of the issues that have plagued Marvel post Avengers Endgame. Where you had Avengers Endgame, you had a decade of movies leading up to it, it's building, setting everything up.
Right.
That hasn't happened over the last however long it's been, 6 or 7 years since
no, just TV
Endgame
shows,
came out.
basically.
Well, it's been like origin story after origin story that gets scrapped because what was the one that literally nobody watched, the
Eternals.
Yeah. And
Bad day.
and
for
then
the
stuff like
bad
Black
day for the budget guys.
Black Widow, which is like a prequel essentially. So like Avengers Endgame, the last two Avengers movies, you obviously had a massive cast. You had everybody that had been in all the other movies, but it was earned because you had the build up leading up to it.
Yeah.
This feels like it could be awesome. It could be fantastic. It could be really cool. It could be the best Marvel stuff since those movies. However, my concern is that it also feels very much like they have not built up really anything leading to this. Really, like it's just a kind of a jumbled mess, and it's gonna feel like an extremely jumbled mess with 27 plus superheroes in one movie.
Yeah, they'll try to springboard, I'm sure, this from the Fantastic Four movie. And the one thing that's interesting is there is emotional stuff in the there's character stuff in the bank from the X-Men characters from those movies.
Yeah.
But all their stories are also all basically like they're not ongoing in any way. So,
no, and
they're going to have to
20 years
revive
old,
that.
Essentially.
It is very interesting, but at the same time, what's funny is like I like Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
But I don't like I'm not
They're
like,
also,
man,
like,
his depiction of Professor X is just so good, and his Magneto is so good. It's like those movies are fine. Like
But they're also
Well,
like
let's
they're
hold on.
in their
Hold on.
80s.
X2 is like still one of the greatest
okay,
superhero
I mean-
movies ever made.
So
Yeah.
I do actually love their depictions of it.
yeah,
Based on
okay, I mean,
the same way I feel about that Batman graphic novel that who did that? Frank somebody.
Frank Miller,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who did the old Batman? Like that.
the Year One and Dark Knight Returns, and
Yes, that is awesome. I love the old guy superhero thing. I think that's cool. Throws back to Druss, like in
Sure.
Legend. Like I just love the idea of like I'm 70 and it's like the Godfather thing. Like,
Yeah.
they pull me back in.
Yeah,
Like it's
right.
but Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart are like in their 80s now. Like they're
Yeah.
they're not old anymore. Now they're
it'll be-
elderly.
It'll be green screen and CGI.
it's going to
just
be
gonna
probably a very short cameo because it's the whole. This is like the end of the multiverse thing.
yeah.
So why don't they have the Conqueror? Didn't they set up? I remember watching Loki, and they set up for the Conqueror to be like the main bad.
Well,
He got
yeah,
in big trouble and is
yeah.
probably almost certainly going to prison at this point.
Oh,
'cause-
the guy, the actual
the
man.
actor.
The
okay.
actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that definitely screws the pooch for.
So I can't remember
story.
which one. I think that didn't they give him essentially kind of a very very rushed end
I
in something.
I don't know.
recently?
I stopped
I heard
watching.
Loki's of season
stopped
2 was
watching.
okay, but I haven't watched it.
Well, if your lead actor does jail stuff.
I can't remember anything about X2. I remember things about the first movie, which
Bro,
I thought
X2
was
had
fine.
had the chick with the finger knives,
Yeah,
and it
that
was
when
it was Brian
Nightcrawler showed
Cox,
up,
and
too.
he was awesome.
Yeah.
He was Stryker.
It's not right. It's not ringing a bell.
Well, here's the other thing: is just
It's
honestly,
actually
it's
super
like
good.
it's super.
I just
good,
remember
but
the
it's,
one-
it was a long time ago.
Yeah,
It was a
I remember
long
the
time
one
ago.
For the first movie when the guy turns to Jello and he becomes like the senator or whatever.
Well, he is the center, and then he becomes Jello.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's from the. That's
a
from
little
the first one.
reverse, but yeah.
That's all I can remember from that.
So who knows? I don't know. It could be cool. I hope
do-
it's great. I hope it. I would love nothing more than for my love and excitement of superhero movies to be completely revitalized, and maybe Fantastic Four and the Avengers.
Okay, so
will
Fantastic
bring it
Four.
back.
I just had this conversation the other day. There is no reason that we shouldn't have a good one. And the reason I say that is because of what James Gunn did with Guardians of the Galaxy. He introduced 5 characters in a spectacular fashion, and it worked out. And why have we had so many like reboots of Fantastic Four and it sucks every time? Like it doesn't seem impossible because of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, and I was never a massive Fantastic Four fan.
Well, it's
But
yeah.
I had a couple of runs when they were like doing stuff with Spider-Man and a couple one-off kind of things, and that was always great.
Well, they're
And
good.
the family dynamics is something I feel like was never really.
They're goofy and it's 50s zany sci-fi. So it like
But it's also like the seedbed and foundation of Marvel,
No,
basically.
I know, but that actually is like a bad thing mostly. Where I think the Fantastic Four work once they're sprinkled into everything okay. And I'm not ratting on it. I'm just saying the reason it doesn't work though is because they're like not cool. But I actually think if you did an earnest like and I think they seem to be sort of doing something that's
They seem
period.
to be. Yeah.
So that could potentially work, like in theory. I did not think the trailer was encouraging the stuff that's come out. To be
well,
honest,
we've not
but
seen
I
a good
wanna-
one.
It was just like a teaser trailer, I
say
think,
though,
wasn't it too?
there was a-
looked okay. Looked
There was
fine.
a release of a Beast picture, which I don't know if it's actual material, but
I know what you're talking about.
You mean Thing?
no
Oh,
Beast,
Beast from Beast.
with this announcement.
Oh, really?
Well, it's
Okay.
Kelsey Grammer, yeah.
Kelsey Grammer is Beast.
I saw
but
this.
like
Now it's actually connecting that. Oh,
that's
the
what I'm
news
saying,
makes sense.
But it looked like a rare JD Vance. I was like, you could.
I'm in.
I know.
I'm in.
If it was just,
I
like,
take back everything I
this is-
said. I'm in.
This is just a JD Vance edit. You'd be like, I could buy it.
Kelsey
It's
Grammer's
not.
the voice, the personality, the body, but the face. All AI JD Vance on everything the whole time. It's amazing what AI can do.
Oh my God, incredible! All right, well, so there you go. That's our bit of news. That's a new Marvel rant.
And
We'll see. That's
yes.
the thing. We'll see. Do we have an ad this week?
No.
No,
but
no
we
advertisements.
we do have a formal apology to for me
Mm-hmm.
to all of our mothers, my mother watching from above. I am sorry for my language and my my wild, crass comments about things. I mean them about 35%, and the other 65% is definitely regretful.
It's too
of
much
those
time in
things.
Australia.
You know, they used a lot of things as terms of endearment that are considered quite offensive in the States. So they just slip out the tongue because that was how I had to relate to society over there. And, you know,
Yep.
deepest, sincerest apologies, Daniel's mom and Steven's mom. I enjoyed your classes very much.
That was really brave,
That was
Sam.
stunning.
That was
I
really
feel-
brave.
I'm going to have
Stunning
a
and brave.
vulnerability hangover tomorrow.
That was really brave, and I'm proud of you.
Yeah,
Oh
thank you.
my gosh.
I hope
Thank
I
you.
have merited some out of some of
Yeah.
the emotional debt I'm in.
I think you'll be fine.
Yeah.
All right. So tonight, Tropes 2.0. If you did not see our last episode where we talked about tropes that we like and dislike, we came each with lists of tropes, ones that we think are good, ones that we think are bad, and we discussed them and we picked for each other tropes that we wanted to hear the other person talk about. Tonight, we're going to do things a little bit differently. We still each have our lists of likes and dislikes, and we're still going to each pick for the other person what they're going to talk about. But tonight, we're going to flip things around, and if one of us is given a trope that we like, we have to take the opposite approach, and we have to discuss why it is a bad thing.
Oh,
and
devil's
give-
advocate.
And give examples of why it's a bad trope and how it is used poorly, and maybe works that it is used poorly in. And then if we do a good enough job and convince the other two that we have argued it as hard as we possibly can, then perhaps we will be given an opportunity to talk about how we actually feel about this trope. Now, one kind of fun thing about this, besides just making it harder on ourselves, and facilitating some more banter, is that I think this maybe neatly illustrates that in reality, and what is lost in a lot of these tropes discussions online, is that there is no such thing as a bad trope. Tropes are tools, and they are either used wisely and deftly by the writer, or they are not. But there's no such thing as a bad trope. These are just ones that we like personally and dislike personally. So...
Yeah, even as you say that, I like want to disagree, but I don't know why. And maybe that's my own trope
Yeah.
of being an American. Because the trope of American is, rebel against whatever.
Well, I think that there certainly are some tropes that are poorly used.
Oh, I have
way
no
more
proof or basis
often-
at all. It's
way
just
more
an
often than
inclination.
they are done right. Or
Well-
there are some that are just so overused that it is hard to imagine them being good.
And some of them become mimetic, some things become ubiquitous in a way that, like, at least for me, I occasionally will start to find
Whoa.
exhausting, where it's just
Whoa,
like
the
this
big-
is all the
big
time.
words. Wait a second. What
Mimetic is not
what-
a big word.
For me, it's big. So define
Becomes a
mimetic
meme.
and,
Becomes a meme.
and ubiquitous. For just really quickly. For me.
Mimetic, is like a meme, but like in this context is
Like a
a
joke.
meme is
it's
like
a joke.
It's like a pattern of behavior.
Okay.
The old school.
The old school version of meme,
Yeah.
which then meme is.
So what's
meme is like
an
image or-
example?
a bit like a version of a meme is like holding the door for someone.
Okay, so yeah.
It's just a pattern of behavior. You see someone do it, and then you.
Or like
then
picking
you
up
repeat that
trash
behavior.
when no one's looking, kind of thing.
I mean that sure.
And
There's a lot of different
what was
things that
it?
can be
What's
used.
ubiquitous?
So
again? I forget.
and ubiquitous means it's either like omnipresent or it becomes overly
It happens so
representative.
much that
it happens all the time.
Yeah.
that it's not worth defining, or
No, in this context, I'm saying that it's like it becomes a part of like every story without people thinking it through anymore.
it's like it just
It's just
assumed to be
It's
part of it.
assumed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Learning always.
Yeah.
Go
Wow.
on.
So we're gonna set a timer for 3 minutes for each of these, and we'll have 3 minutes to discuss.
3 minutes.
So who
Getting
wants
stuck with one I
who wants to?
dislike for 3 minutes?
These shenanigans were my idea, and I kind of forced it on the other two gents.
Can we have
So
a tap
I
out,
will
like when we're like, I got nothing else to say good about this trope? I don't like?
We can have a mercy killing for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I need like a one-shot pistols on James Bond sort of thing going on.
But I will fall on my sword first and volunteer as tribute to go first.
Wait, who's picking who?
You guys can both pick as a duo.
Well, here let's just so I'll pick for you, and then you pick for Sam, and then if we
Well,
need to,
how do we decide who's first? Like,
I'll
he's
go
gonna
first.
go
I'm gonna
first.
go first. I'm volunteering to go
no,
first.
but which of us gets to
Yeah.
pick? Like,
I'll
who
pick-
has the
I'll
better
pick.
who has
That
the
way we
better
don't have to
personality?
discuss.
Like, it's to decide who has the better smile.
I'll pick first, and then Steven can
Oh,
pick.
you'll pick. Okay,
Well,
you
and
just
we
say,
can honestly snake draft it, and then it can, we can do like that.
sports terms.
Yeah.
I'm also fine
Snake
with
draft.
if you guys want to
Or, I mean-
confer amongst yourselves for a moment and pick one for me.
I just want to pick sexy monsters. Is that fine?
I like it. Yeah.
All right.
That's a
Okay.
snake draft for sure. I don't know
Okay,
what that
so
means,
so
but-
this
Steven-
is one of my dislikes.
Yeah, this is a dislike of Steven's, but he's going to defend sexy
is
monsters.
sexy monsters, and I'm going to defend it.
1, 2, 3, go.
Okay, defend sexy monsters.
They're great because-
okay, I should maybe define what I mean by sexy monsters quickly. I mean, obviously, like monsters that are literally sexy, like the Twilight vampires, I suppose. But also,
You like them, yeah.
well, I'm having to defend them.
they're sparkly.
Or I would also describe it. What I meant was also like taking monsters and making them relatable, or giving them motivations for their monstrosity. Okay, so I'm going to steelman this. I think that empathy is good, and maybe this helps teach empathy, and it's good to try to understand the motivations of evil so that you can help combat it, and maybe also if you understand the motivations, you can help to maybe change their mind.
Like the Shape of Water.
yeah.
Sure, but I mean, I would argue. Yes, well, yes, okay,
It's-
sure.
it's funny
yeah.
because
Shape of Water,
it's funny
though, I would
because-
argue he's not evil, but he is a monster,
Yeah.
and it does show a kind of a Beauty and the Beast situation that love can happen. Love exists, and your physical form does not dictate whether or not you are deserving of
Wow.
love. And affection and understanding and respect from your fellow man or monster.
Okay.
And perhaps some monsters only behave monstrously because they're being treated as monsters.
Sure.
And if they were treated with
Like the lady in
love
the
and
God
respect
Hand.
and, like the lady.
Oh my god, Steven, this is like this is the most purest bullshit I've ever heard from your mouth ever. And I can't.
I'm trying really hard.
Can't take it.
So,
on.
love and empathy.
Love and
I would also say there's room for all types of storytelling. It's subversion of genre to take monsters and make them friendly. Here's a good example: the Munsters.
Friendly. Sexy, not friendly.
Hey, well, it's again.
It's the same
I
coin,
broadened
bro.
the
We got
definition-
friendly and sexy.
I
on
broadened the
same
definition
coin.
of sexy. It doesn't literally just mean boneable.
Okay.
But a more approachable and humanized
Okay.
monsters.
Okay.
So things like the Munsters, the Addams Family. Wednesday was great. I loved Wednesday.
Okay.
I do not like Twilight, but there's a lot of people that do. New takes on old stories and exploring, like we talked about with Nosferatu, there is an inherent sensuality and sexuality to vampires. So turning that trope on its head. Jesus Christ,
Okay.
thank you.
Man.
Okay, so how did I do?
So
Yeah, that was not honest at all.
it
Well, it
was
wasn't
amazing.
honest. I dislike it, but I
No,
was trying to.
I just
So,
love, I love
I-
hearing you try to lie about
I
something.
wasn't trying to lie. I was just trying to steelman it.
I think
Yes,
you did
yes,
an
yes,
admirable
yes.
job.
There was no heart behind
And
it.
well, and again, there might not be much heart
No, it's not
for
my turn
tonight.
yet, so yeah.
I do think for the
absolutely.
pain caused, you can have like 30 seconds to talk about how you really feel. I feel like.
Okay.
So a brief.
Okay,
yeah,
so
brief.
so briefly here before we move on, I truly do dislike sexy monsters. Again, there are exceptions to the rule, but I think that it's good to have bad guys, and I think it is good for monsters to be monsters because a lot of times in real life, sure, there's motivations, sure we can try to understand and have empathy, but there are also bad people. And there are monsters in real life. And when someone or something is behaving monstrous, perhaps you should not take the time to try to understand the motivations. You should deal with the monster. I don't think that there were a lot of people that were wondering why Adolf Hitler was the way that he was. It was time to deal with the monster.
He may have been sexy to someone, like
But that's kind of my personal feeling is it was maybe cute occasionally to begin with, but it's overused, overdone, and not done well enough. I think that Shape of Water is an example of it being done well. And I genuinely do think that the ones that I mentioned as far as the old school, like Addams Family and Munsters and the newer Wednesday show are also great examples.
yeah.
But I think on the whole, I like my monsters to be monsters most of the time.
Right.
Penny Dreadful is another great example of monsters that are truly monstrous, but you do get some motivating things behind them. But it doesn't excuse their monstrosity. Maybe that's what it is. Too
There you
often,
It's excused.
it's a whitewashing that kind of excuses the monstrosity by giving it that layer of empathy.
All right.
Great work, honestly. Like,
There you
good
go.
job.
Okay, thank you. All right.
I'm dreading
That's
mine.
actually kind of hard. All right, Daniel, you're up next.
Okay.
Sam, let's pick something for Daniel.
Oh, when I read this, I knew I wanted to hear him talk about it. Now, especially in the
Okay,
reverse.
go for it. Go for it.
Rich, bad, poor, good.
So this is in Daniel's dislikes.
So maybe define
Okay.
it first.
So,
Because I get what you're saying, but
Well,
Yeah.
okay, hold on. I had to define in my time period. So
Yeah,
are you ready for
I
your
mean,
Yeah.
3
minutes?
minutes is a
All
while.
right, here we
yeah.
go.
So it's a very common part of storytelling where you show how the poor are being exploited and have noble hearts and are the real bastions of society, the underdogs, and they're being exploited by the wealthy. I'm spacing on specific founding examples, especially in sci-fi and fantasy, but there are numerous. And it's honestly a trope that I think has become ubiquitous, and for very often very good reasons, because it's very true to the world we live in, or it can feel very true to the world we live in. But yeah, people with money and power and success are trotting all over the poor and the disadvantaged and those, and they're and it's all, just desserts and being undeserving. I mean, like White Lotus is all about that, which is a show not really sci-fi and fantasy, but that's going on. It's all about that idea there. And it's one of those things. It's hard to even talk about it. It's everywhere. And everybody just kind of directly resonates with that idea, I think, to some degree. Even if you aren't like necessarily poor, I think everybody understands the idea that there are people with more than you, and there's the feeling that they didn't always get there by the best means, or are fully deserving, or do enough with the things that they've had in life.
So
and again,
what's the defense for it?
That's the defense. That's the defense. Is it's true to life, and people respond to it, and when it shows up in fiction, it's resonating with that. That's it. That's why it's a good part of fiction. It's why it's necessary and valuable, and why it should show up, because people resonate with it, and they
Can you do it with
love
an
it.
RFK voice? I would think that would add huge value to it.
But
Or like a Trump impersonation, even. Yeah.
yeah, again, I don't think I can do it off the cuff, but yeah, Trump talking about the rich being bad would be funny if I could pull it off.
Yeah. But they're not. Yeah, they're great. Yeah, the
yeah.
rates are awesome.
But yeah, that's that. I mean, that's it. And you know, I mean, you've got it in Star Wars. It shows up especially even more in the sequel trilogy, which is phenomenal.
With Benicio del Toro.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
Especially that. And the prequels, some as well.
Somehow it was awesome.
And somehow it was awesome. So you've got that as a place to rest on, but yeah.
All right.
Well done. Well, your timer goes into the negative. Wow.
All right. I think you earned giving us your Ayn Rand take on this.
This is one I've been thinking about for a while, especially when we talked about tropes.
The moment I read it, I was like, yeah, I hate that too.
Really?
Yeah, when I saw it, I was like,
that's so funny.
I'm annoyed by that.
So it really for this, there are, and I'm spacing on examples of it doing well, to be honest. Well, and I mean, Gene Wolfe's, this comes up in, this trope shows up. Well, actually, I'm saying that.
It's both.
There's
and
wealthy
with
being
Gene.
exploitive in some Gene Wolfe stuff that's done well, and there's lots of examples of it. But I have reached the point where, and I think it's just because of its prevalence, that I just find it really exhausting, especially if this is like a major focus in a book. Just the idea that everyone that's doing well or is successful in any capacity is just awful,
A tyrant.
and a tyrant, and using it again, it happening, or like if a book shows that, but also displays like it should be a wide display. Because I would say that's true to life, honestly. Some people that have quote unquote made it are responsible with what they've done and did it, and like were only successful because they did well. So like I feel
That
like
is
fiction
also
should
the
reflect
only
that.
way that can show up. Though.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the other side of it is the idea that like the poor are this beautiful treasure that are just being held down is like also like just not even always true. And some things do show this where people are down on their luck and it's clearly because of their own actions. You'll see this in things about like drug abuse and stuff. That being said, poverty being dehumanizing, I always find interesting because I do think that's true. And I do think it makes less of people. So it's not that the poor are like gross, nasty masses that deserve what's coming to them, but then to act like they're like people are only ever poor because like through no fault of their own, and they just like, that like when we like get into that territory like too often, I'm just like, this is just tiring and doesn't even feel true to life.
Well, I think that I think that anytime something like this is presented as just black and white, one versus the other,
yes,
it's usually not done with much finesse, or it's not as complex as it is in real life on either side of the fence.
yeah,
I think that it is a tale as old as time. It's the entirety of Robin Hood.
sure,
But at the same time, Robin of Locksley is a nobleman himself, and so even that old story has a slightly more nuanced take than a lot of maybe the things that are frustrating you with kind of modern storytelling that can frequently become lose the nuance in trying to force a modern political lens onto something. And I will say, I'm sure that I've brought this up on the podcast before. I know that I've brought this up in many conversations, but shout out to Steve Womack, my screenwriting teacher at Watkins. One of the very first lessons that Steve ever taught us in the very first writing class that I took of his was that you never start with theme. You always start with character and story, and you write the story from there. And then at the end, you find your theme.
yeah,
And then you can go back in rewrites and
Yeah.
strengthen your theme as you go. But if you start with theme, which I feel like probably a lot of the stories that push this trope are starting with a theme,
yes,
it ends up as preachy,
yes,
which I have read a little bit of Ayn Rand, and I would say that she feels preachy in
Sure,
a lot of
in
ways
her
from
own
the
way.
opposite perspective.
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
and
it's the
I-
same. It's
yeah.
like two sides of the same coin.
For sure.
There. So yeah, it feels very much to me a symptom of starting with theme and trying to shape your characters and your story to fit the theme instead of a theme occurring naturally
As you,
as
you
your
tell
story
And, like,
progresses
yeah,
and your character
kind of you
changes.
discover the theme.
Exactly.
Unless you're writing about sexy monsters, then you got to start with that.
You gotta
and
start
then
with your theme
Everything
of
has to
sexy
revolve
monsters.
around the sexy
100%.
monster. Yeah.
and then two quick final notes. I think this presents very differently in sci-fi and fantasy, where especially when it's people importing, at least, especially current, what they feel is current social issues, and just like shoving them either into the future in very obvious ways or importing them back into the past in ways they didn't exist. Because also, like, there were issues with the feudal system, but also like just being like, it's like it's not a 1-to-1. Like,
Well,
even a mercantile community is not a capitalist society. Even like, so it's like each of those societies had their own issues, had their own problems, but then they also were like, they were all unique, and they actually were more different than we think.
Well, and that's why I think importing these modern ideas and issues into science fiction makes way more sense and feels way better than into fantasy.
Sure.
Because traditionally, fantasy is medieval Europe,
Yeah.
but medieval anywhere, essentially, ancient times, or in the past from now, which means that like you're inherently looking at it through a modern lens, which doesn't fit the time that you're trying to write.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Thank you, Daniel. Let's pick a dislike for Sam because we've both done dislikes into likes.
There's one I don't want you to pick.
How's that one sound?
That's a dislike.
I know that's what I'm saying. We're gonna give him a dislike.
Oh, okay.
That he has to like because
Okay.
that's just to
Sure. To keep
have
it
some symmetry
sane.
here.
I gotcha. I misunderstood.
mercenary with a code. Did we nail it?
No, that's the one. I'm fine with that one.
Okay. Well, we'll see
All
if we
right.
get it next time. All right. Your 3 minutes starts now.
Okay, so mercenary with a code. You know, like they can be awesome. Like there can be really good ones. Like the Hound is kind of good, and the made up character in Game of Thrones, Sir Bronn. He's a good one.
Yep.
You know his code is.
Does he have a code?
Yeah, I mean it's basically like get money, fuck bitches.
It's that basically, I guess.
Sorry,
yeah.
sorry, moms. That is
But that is. But
that's not
It's a
my
song
that's
lyric.
not
It's a
my
song
code.
lyric.
It's a song
Yeah, it's a
lyric.
song lyric.
I'm quoting something. I'm not coming up with that. But it is a code, and that is definitely Sir Bronn's code. And he's likable. Like he's neat. One of his lines, like, "There's nothing better than killing." Like, yeah. So they can be really interesting, like fillers in stories. With having like that, they're always like a side character, and they like kind of point to the main story, and that's cool. I mean, sometimes it makes it for the story for people. They're just super cool. They'll kill someone and
Yeah.
like.
Does
slit
John
their-
Wick have a code? I've not seen those movies.
He does.
Don't
like,
kill his dog.
It's it's like all
That's the
about
code.
it's about the dog, and lots of people. It's a good movie, really great character. He'll kill your children, but like
Don't kill his dog.
don't kill his dog. It's simple.
The Black Company.
The Black
was an
Company.
entire
they're mostly
mercenary company
They're
with a
mostly
code?
like just don't mess with my bros,
That's a code.
and it's a code. But they'll kill your grandma, but like. They honor that code, and the honor part is the best part of the code that these mercenaries have. And that is why it's so great because they stick to it. And they stand for what they stand for. They're a man of their word, but only a few of the words are they a man for. And that's cool. That shows bravery and kindness.
Looking at the clock. Just how many words can I fit into the last 20
and
seconds?
strength and more adjectives.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing.
man. They just they really stick to it.
They really stick
They
to
do.
it.
Really stick to that code of theirs. And there's nothing else to adhere to except that code that they, created for
Putting you out
themselves.
of your misery.
Yeah, mercy killing.
It's awesome.
Mercy killing. Okay.
It's an awesome
Well,
thing.
I'm not sure you deserve to give your thoughts, but
not
I
either,
do
but
want to hear them. Though,
I know.
actually, I know.
That's the biggest.
I was like, I'm actually curious now because
Maybe
you
I'm
clearly,
a
you clearly
mercenary with a code.
I know you clearly despise this trope.
I just think it's total BS.
Sure.
The whole mercenary with a code thing is BS because they are pretending they have this like unique sort of set of rules, but we all kind of get what it is. It's like a vague morality, but it's the same code everywhere.
I have places I won't go.
That's what the whole code is so simple and so on the nose that it's like don't pretend you don't pretend you have a code. It's like don't kill women and children and innocents basically, and then oh yeah, but I'll kill like anything. It's like you won't though. Like John Wick wouldn't kill a child or like somebody's like daughter or anything. But he pretends it's like oh no, it's just this one thing. And all of them have this like thing. If they're killing a grandma, it's because the grandma was like a crazy narcissist and like killed a whole like generation of people. Like they're not opposed to any of that, but their code is pretty dang rigid and it's pretty on the nose and obvious. So for me, even in Black Company, I didn't see them killing anybody that was innocent ever of anything. Like sure, like they were told to kill them, but at the same time, the most gruesome killing was not a mercenary. It was Shed, and he wasn't a mercenary at all. He was just kind of like looking for money, and that's why his character was compelling because he had zero code, and I liked that about him. But yeah, the mercenary with the code thing, I think the code is a joke. Like it's literally just normal morality, like
Sure.
calling it a code. And that's my take on it, and that's why I dislike the trope
Interesting.
because they pretend to be unique
Well,
when they're
yeah.
actually just simply a good guy.
I think it's sort of this idea of like the killer with a heart of gold thing, and it's like you want to tap into that like unbridled violence, but also like to try to make yourself feel good about it somehow. Like it feels like sometimes it's that when it's not working well. That being said, like the samurai, I feel like is a version of it where you've got like they're doing violence, but then it's like, or like a knight almost.
Yeah.
They do have like a chivalrous. They literally do have a code, and obviously then when the moment arises is that. But that's not really like a mercenary. So it's like that. It's not really like a
Or like a
vagabond.
Ronin, you could
Yeah.
say, like in the samurai analogy, they still potentially are following the code of Bushido. They just don't have a master.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting take. Thank you, Sam. Very good. All right. How about you fellas pick one of my likes for me to tear down?
Okay. We should do barbarians.
Oh, absolutely.
You can talk about why barbarians stink.
That will be the hardest thing for him ever. Let's coin toss it for morally gray protagonists. Because I would also like to hear him. What is it? Heads or tails? And then he says it.
Well, you guys have
This
more
is
than one
morally gray,
opportunity.
Daniel.
Yeah.
We'll do at least two of each of these. So
Yeah. I want morally gray. But
Let's do morally
Barbarians
gray
is-
first. Let's do morally
Okay,
gray
we'll
first.
continue.
Mostly
continue.
because Steven has become like the voice of what is grimdark with us, so I want to hear him tear
Okay.
down morally gray.
All right. Okay. Jesus Christ. All right, here we go. I'm going to kind of piggyback on some of the things that Sam was just saying about Mercenary with Code. Morally gray characters are, specifically morally gray protagonists, are bullshit. They're just cringy edgelords that do mean stuff or say bad things or treat people poorly to seem, again, edgy and adult, in air quotes, when really they're going to still end up being the good guy They're just taking a longer time to get there, and most of the time are not nearly as interesting as people think that they are, and can just end up becoming super annoying. Doing things like this is about to get very specific. They like cursing all the time, but not in a way that people actually use curse words, or talking shit about other people all the time, or behaving aggressively or acting like they don't care. Again, I'm piggybacking a little bit, but it's a lot of the same arguments that Sam had against in his actual dislike for a mercenary with code. These are still protagonists and antagonists. It doesn't mean that it has to be like old school Western good guy white hat, bad guy black hat. But the modern trend of grimdark, morally gray characters is just an excuse to write characters that maybe are fulfilling darker desires of the authors. They're also contributing to people maybe misbehaving in their own life or wanting to behave in a certain way. I'm totally blanking on the guy's name because I'm drowning here, but the Vince Gilligan, just in his speech about where he was receiving an award, was saying how we need more actual good guy characters, and that a world full of Tony Sopranos and Walter Whites leads people to actually start idolizing these anti-heroes instead of actual good guys. That are morally straight and helping their community and valuable members of society, and that's what these morally gray characters in books can also start doing. Is instead of wanting to identify with Ned Stark, you're wanting to identify with Tyrion Lannister or Jaime Lannister, heaven forbid, instead of the less interesting stick in the mud good guy. There was actually some kernels of truth in that.
Yeah.
There was. I mean, Jamie had sex with his sister, so yeah.
I feel like you did a better job than the first time.
I think so too.
That was a good argument.
It was compelling.
It was.
Well,
I disliked
you
Morally Gray.
you talked about no heart in it the first time. There was which was just on its face arguing. You tapped in some truths, I think.
I think, yeah. Okay. So here, may I continue?
Go ahead. Go
okay.
ahead.
So I like morally gray protagonists when they are written well.
Yeah.
I think that when they are written well, like the cast of The Black Company, San Dan Glokta from First Law.
Yeah. The Black Company is almost a culture of morally gray.
100%. And
not even a character.
Yeah.
It's just like the whole culture is like, yeah.
And honestly, a lot of the character, I mentioned Jaime Lannister and Tyrion Lannister, but like truly, there's a lot of morally gray characters in Game of Thrones. Most of the ones that survive are very morally gray, but they're all written extremely well, very interesting, and the grayness of their morality is interesting and leads to interesting situations, especially when you see them do bad things, but then see them either choose to do good things or see them do good things but then be forced to do a bad thing. Joel from The Last of Us is a great example of a morally gray character in a different medium.
Almost like the best example.
He's one of the best, absolutely, for sure.
Just like the way he ties it off and what he does.
Yes.
That, is super gray.
And so I think that there's a lot of great potential for redemptive arcs for characters, but also just in the hands of a good writer, a morally gray character can open up more opportunities for interesting things to happen in the story. Because they're not necessarily tied down to one direction for the story or character to go.
So to piggyback before we move on, I think that my favorite morally gray character, and maybe the progenitor of the entire idea, is Sir Lancelot.
Interesting.
He is definitely the foundation of morally gray.
At least in like kind of fantasy.
If you want,
think.
if you want to take it back all the way back
I mean,
there.
maybe Gilgamesh or something. I don't know.
Well, no, I think that's an interesting take because he is presented as one thing, but he
he's
traditionally
he's having an
having an affair with his best friend's wife,
and ruining the kingdom thereby, basically.
Yeah, no, that's a
And
very interesting take.
He's chivalrous and wonderful in fights and performs a miracle.
He's even
and
faithful to
he
her.
is faithful to her. So again, that's where like he's like those stories don't, at least in the original Mort. He's a very complex character, but there's no interiority in those stories. So like we don't get that. We get a little bit of it in not a little bit, but we get a fair amount of it in Once and Future King. But I think it's actually interesting, and I actually wish few more stories would do that, where they show you a character without going in their head, and it's like the things they do kind of. And I think there's actually a world where like the thing Lancelot does do make sense or are like coherent in a way, but. I think that's a really fascinating idea of like the best guy, but also like huge failing in this other area.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting point. So I like morally gray characters, but I will say, and we're gonna have a bigger conversation on this at some point when I can bring myself to finish the fucking book. I was directly referencing the main character, Gabriel, I think his name is, from Empire of the Vampire.
I thought you were going to say the Bible, but
No,
okay.
no, but
He's morally gray. All right.
that's
cool.
definitely where the name was coming from for this book. But extreme edgelord character. Again, we'll have a whole episode when we actually can bring ourselves to finish the book. Okay,
Can I
thank
make
you.
a proposition?
Yes.
I want to do one more for each of us, and then I have a fun idea.
Okay.
I just want to
All right.
throw
Interesting.
in the
All right.
mix.
Well, let's see how we're feeling after we do these next ones.
Yes, yes.
So,
Yes.
one for Daniel. A like for Daniel.
That he has to combat? You like campfire stories?
I think. Hold on. I think. So this
I
is.
thought you didn't like campfire stories.
No, I do.
I would like to do spies and espionage because
I do.
it is apropos to what we're reading right now, and I would like to. You specifically requested it be added to your likes, so I'd like to hear you.
Yeah. honestly, out of everything, I feel like unnecessary details is way too easy.
Well, we already did that one in the last episode,
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah.
So let's do spies. You ready to talk about spies?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1,
in the opposite.
and go.
So, stories should be straightforward. They should just tell you
Linear. We like a linear.
linear. People should be the character they're named as, not have other identities, sharing information.
No complexity.
And
please.
behind closed doors, reporting on things going on. Things should be straightforward. We should be like hunting a dragon. There's no room for spies in fantasy when we're hunting a dragon. If we're like building a rocket ship or fighting aliens, there's not room for spies in that. At all.
I can't see a spy.
I can't see a
Absolutely
spy involved.
No.
Preposterous
At all.
notion.
You know, in a world where we've colonized other planets, it's a high trust society.
High trust
Where-
It's a
society.
high trust society. There's
sta-
no
the
room.
stakes- the
It's
stakes are-
unbelievable.
they're up there, bro.
It's
They're in
unbelievable to
space.
have
Plus,
spies.
who needs spies when you have group chats?
Yes, exactly. When you've got group
In
chats,
a world
you don't
with group
need
chats, you
spies.
don't need spies.
Cameras
Everyone-
are everywhere. No, there's no need.
That's one way to. If the world was put on a group chat, spying would be impossible.
Well,
Or we would all be
keeping
spies.
up with
It's
the
like
group
one
chat
of the-
is pretty tricky.
That would be tough. But so that's the main thing there. You know, there's just not room for them in a lot of stories. They have their own. They have their own genre, and they can stay in their own genre.
bad one too,
They don't
right?
need to. Well, and that's not even necessarily what I'm saying because it's a good genre when it's a spy. You know,
No
we're gonna do a
mixing of
Cold War.
genres.
Yes, I never believe in mixing genres.
Pure genre segregation.
Spying
That
should
purist.
just stick to its lane, stick to Le Carre books. Those were written and we're good now.
James Bond. Only.
James Bond action movies are great. Again, they're their own thing. So then Spying is just. It's so hard. Spying is so cool.
Nobody wants to see a hooded and cloaked figure in the shadows.
Nobody.
Like there could be something
really
else
hard.
going on.
What's the thing? When would spying actually ruin a story? There's no spies in the Mabinogion.
He's right.
There's none, and
He's right.
it wouldn't be better for it. Same with Mort to Arthur. There is some political intrigue and stuff. It's not hard to even imagine where they might show up, but there isn't any. And again, they're not missing. There's not spies in Lord of the Rings.
False.
There are spies in Lord of the Rings.
There's whole flocks of spies.
Well, they're birds.
And we never hear what they say.
Oh, what about Bill Fernie?
Okay, I mean it's okay.
Spice suck. I don't know.
Spies are terrible.
Spies are terrible.
I mean,
That was a rough one.
They're not hard.
Okay, you earned it. Okay, tell us why spies are great.
Does anybody want this?
I'm good. I'm still gonna kill this. And then
Sure. Yeah. Spies are awesome. Every story is improved by having spies in them. Basically, it doesn't matter how small the stakes. Spies are amazing. It totally comes up in Green Pearl. There's a lot of spying in Green Pearl, which we're
whole
reading right
story
now.
is
It's like, I mean,
basically
yeah,
spies.
in some ways, and it does some other things too. But it's just awesome, courtly intrigue and spying, and it's amazing. And
No story.
it's honestly just like that's basically it. It's just like I love it once we've got mixed identities and we're letters back and forth or other again and not in non-fantasy situations you've got people exchanging encoded information, all that, just all of it is awesome.
the entire last arc of Hunter x Hunter.
You see, that's all spies.
Just spies.
All spies. Yeah, so I dig spy fiction as well, especially in film. Like I just basically always like it. If as long as there's like it's actually one where my threshold is pretty low. Like I can enjoy something that's just like very pulpy and just fun. Yeah. But also when it's done really well, I actually think spying, which is interesting because actually like I do think spies by definition are morally gray.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
you can be a good person in your private life, but like your job is to be bad.
Well, you're like lying.
You have to lie.
Lying
You're
is
lying.
inherent
Yes, it's
in your
inherent to the
job.
job. So, so that part is interesting. There's some stuff with the human condition there about identity and things that have to get going, and then obviously then there's just like information transfer and all that stuff and intrigue. And I think in fantasy and sci-fi, it's a really interesting way to then relay information in the story where you can reveal events in a story through learned knowledge through spying on and that's a really fascinating way to actually progress things where then you cut to another place, things have progressed, and then that person then gives you new information, and it's a very interesting way for me to have a story progress or new information be learned. So it was tough to talk about something. It's like it's the negative case for spies in a show. I'm gonna out of curiosity think about like where spies showing up would actually be really bad. If I could actually think of something, I'm gonna work on it.
Nice.
That
That was good.
really hard to imagine.
I like your explanation.
They kind of make every story better.
Spies are actually awesome. Spies are sweet.
I mean,
Jason Bourne is
Jason Bourne is cool.
freaking great.
I don't think it would be good in Paw Patrol.
There probably is a spy Paw Patrol dog.
A spy Paw Patrol dog? Are you kidding me?
There's a little police officer, a little fireman, a little CIA agent.
Some shitty little purse dog that's actually a spy for cats.
Some DEA pup agent, yeah.
Amazing.
All right, Sam. A like for Sam. I'd kind of like to hear either. I'm thinking this one.
Okay.
Or this one. Do you have an opinion?
Let's do post-apocalypse.
All right. Sam, why does post-apocalypse suck? And go.
I mean,
Or
what's great about like the future versus like what's happening right now?
yeah.
Fiction is so played out. We already know what's gonna happen.
The I Am Legend movie's kind of bad.
It's not. It's not.
It's kind of good.
That's a movie that's the dog dies. That's not good.
Oh God! Spoiler
You
alert.
can't have a movie with the dog dying. Yeah, it's just so like everybody's doing it, and that's not great. When everyone's doing that idea, it just says it's like played out, man. It's boring at this point.
Yeah.
The Walking Dead sucks and has for years.
Yeah, like zombies, like gross, like they're like undead. Something happens to civilization. Like I want to see like civilization happen. Like
Yeah.
maybe it doesn't.
We need
end.
positive stories.
We need more. We need more. Current positive stories. Like nothing bad is gonna happen, and after that, after the good happens, it's like not post-apocalyptic. It's like prolific stories like that. We need.
That is probably the worst thing is how unrealistic post-apocalypse
Yeah,
is anymore.
like we're not ever gonna not have electricity like that. That's always gonna be there. We got generators and a lot of gas, and people have figured that out. Like
It's 20%. We don't have pandemics anymore.
it's just not realistic, really.
Yeah.
And I like my stories to be super realistic. Yeah, like people just make it all doom and gloom, and like there just needs to be some positive like future stories out there. And it's like every time it seems like someone's tasked with like let's write this like future story, it's like, oh yeah, everything's so bad. And it's just like such a gimmick and everyone just goes that way, but like what if everything's really good? Like we can make a really like a really great story. Like the Jetsons. Like that's a great one. The Jetsons is a great post not apocalyptic. What's the opposite of
Like
apocalyptic?
utopian.
A post-utopian society is like the Jetsons. You see elements of it in Back to the Future 2. They're like, they're making pizza in like 10 seconds, right? The dehydrated. That's awesome. They got those cool skateboards. You can like skate around on those hoverboards. And that's
just saying
awesome.
words.
That's a post utopian society. We need more of that. And yeah.
That was kind of unfair. It's hard
Oh
to
my
make post-apocalypse not absolutely sick.
Yeah. You just have to do a bad. It just has to be bad, like for other reasons.
I feel
Yes.
I feel like the Jetsons was a great.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's awesome. That's a great futuristic
I thought you
story.
were gonna go for like Star Trek or something.
Honestly,
That's not good, though.
The idea though that we
challenging.
actually like need hope and some of that I
Well, maybe Star Trek captures
Sure,
that.
yeah.
And some elements of it.
the whole idea that we need hope and it's maybe it's not the best idea to completely dwell on it. That doesn't like totally write off post-apocalypse, but like there's some ideas there I don't totally disagree with that.
Yeah, but it is definitely just an idea. I don't have any
No.
except the Jetsons.
Yeah.
I mean, with the interesting thing about Star Trek actually, and what I see lots of people bring up like, why can't we be moving towards a Star Trek society? Is that they forget the actual lore of Star Trek, which is that there is an apocalyptic war.
Yeah.
That
World
results in
War
them-
III happens and almost entirely wipes out the human race, and it's so bad that the survivors, after they make first contact with the aliens and get essentially a technological upgrade, as they're rebuilding society into what becomes the Federation, their whole thing is we're never going to do this again. We are one species
Yeah.
and we're working together, and this is never happening again.
Yeah.
So it's like to reach that
So
utopia
it's actually
of Star
pro
Trek.
World War
So-
III content actually.
Well,
in some ways.
I think you make a good point, and it does seem a little like the only catalyst available towards any sort of future projecting like fiction material is we have to be unified by extraterrestrial species.
It's interesting.
That's it.
Like
That's
even
Yeah.
Starship Troopers is the same. That would be a hopeful,
Independence Day.
unanimous thing. Independence Day is the
Yeah.
most like Will Smith thing, right?
It's interesting thinking Star Trek
Or
is
zombies.
post-apocalypse.
Star Trek is in the like post-apocalypse
Post.
genre.
Well, because
Which
obviously
usually-
post-apocalypse is like means the period.
However,
that's bad.
so is a
Yeah.
Book of the New Sun, but that's kind of the other way.
Sure.
Sure.
It's both. That's like, well, yeah. There's post-apocalypse. There's this isn't an actual technical term, but I look at it as the post-apocalypse usually is something like the Horizon game series where it's like
Yeah.
thousands of years after the apocalypse and society is rebuilding and is essentially in like a new kind of stone age.
Yeah.
We need aliens is basically the catalyst for
Yeah, or
utopian
some wild
society.
natural disaster, or to almost kill ourselves because
Wow.
humans are great. And that's really, I think, what is so interesting about post-apocalypse is, and I unabashedly love post-apocalypse, and I think the thing that makes me gravitate towards it is that it's like humanity laid bare. So it's how are people going to react with no
Sure.
societal restrictions laid on them at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like almost worse than maritime law, yeah.
So it's like, how are you going to react to the situation? Are you going to be a good guy, or are you going to take advantage of other people, or are you going to just
This is when
focus
the
on
moral
your
compass
survival?
appears. And you have total control over what side of it you're going to land on.
And also, it's just cool. It's just cool.
I mean, yeah,
building
but
armor out of
it's bad.
stop
too.
signs and leftover football gear and making swords out of lawnmower blades and
We're talking Fallout 4
sorry,
now.
Fallout and Mad Max and
Oh,
all
yeah.
that great stuff. So, all right, do we want to do one more round? Or
yeah.
do you have your idea? Did you want to do one more
I
full
have
round?
my fun.
Or
It's a limiting factor, and
Okay.
it's more of a rapid fire kind of like sign off of
Okay.
everything. So we could do one more round than that.
Okay.
we're at about an hour-ish. So let's do one more round. We'll do it. I'm gonna drop the timer to 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
So you guys can pick either a dislike or a like for me. That I then have to obviously go the
Okay, let's
opposite
count
direction.
to 3 and then say what it is that we want.
1, 2.
Wait. I'm not ready. Okay.
This is
okay.
great radio.
Okay.
I'm sort
ready.
of torn. but
I'm totally ready.
1, 2, 3.
Chosen one.
Barbarians.
Oh, actually, I wanted barbarians.
Yeah, you guys did say barbarians. Yeah.
Yep. Dislike them, bro.
Okay. Dislike barbarians. Fuck me. All right. Okay. Barbarians is such a cliche at this point. It's big, hairy men, not wearing much clothes, just yelling and killing. It's reductive. It's just a celebration of violence and toxic masculinity, and the ones that do not fall into that trope are really just, if we're going to look at it in D&D terms, they're really just fighters. It's also, you could potentially argue racist, because it's always just northern white dudes from the cold.
Yeah,
Wow.
fair point.
You only ever hear about barbarians coming from the north. Even Conan is from some lost civilization somewhere in the north. What are we trying to say about Scandinavian peoples who had perhaps a more aggressive past, but are now constantly in the top tiers of the most educated and healthiest and happiest people on the planet? It's a stereotype. It's a trope that is so overused. The screaming barbarian. It also actually has like no real basis in history. It is a right wing, toxic masculine, wet dream that has no basis in modern society.
Right wing.
And
wet
it is,
dream.
and it is, like I said, it is reductive. It is just a pure celebration of violence, and and misogyny, because female barbarians have to be are only ever presented in chainmail or fur bikinis, not wearing actual armor.
Okay. Wow.
Barbarians are fucking great.
Yeah.
Okay. But I will say
love
for
barbarians.
this last round, for maximum pain,
Yeah.
no rebuttal.
No rebuttal.
Maximum
I have to live. I have to live and end with right wing toxic masculine wet dream.
You do.
That was the greatest description I've ever heard of barbarians. in a
Maximum
negative-
pain.
Oh,
We just have to
maximum
sit with
pain.
it. We have to sit with it.
Toxic masculinity, right wing, male misogyny.
I feel like I'm on the what is it? The Wheel of Pain
Yes.
from Conan. Oh my God.
I mean,
Wow, I didn't know you felt that way about barbarians, man.
honestly,
God, Steven.
take it like a barbarian, right?
Oh man, that sucks, Daniel.
Right
Sorry.
wing, toxic masculinity of misogyny,
Crazy,
of
dude.
male misogyny.
Okay, all right.
truth-
Hey,
this is the truth
hey,
round.
Them's the rules.
Yeah.
This is the truth round.
This is the truth.
Oh, God damn it. Okay. All right. Well, your turn now. We did spies.
I think I know what I know what I want to
Okay.
say.
We'll go. Will you say yours? 1, 2, 3. Enemies to lovers.
I was gonna say grumps.
No, let's do enemies to lovers / forced proximity.
Him defending it. That's good. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either of those.
All right. 2 minutes and no rebuttal. And go.
Love is created by conflict, and passions are so readily
Is
aroused
this the ad?
that way that the enemies to lovers trope, as evidenced by Twilight, I think Twilight's maybe enemies is maybe not quite the right way, but it's sort of
that I don't think that's.
well,
think
you know,
that's
he's a
right.
monster. She's a girl, so there's a natural sort of.
But he's a high school boy. And
Hey, hold on.
Yes,
Let him cook.
okay.
Let him cook.
Regardless,
I'm just saying, try harder.
well, and again, they never consummate it, but Agia and Severian are you know, fascinating character studies. And, you know, I wish it had worked out for the whippersnappers, you know? Like, they needed each other. And sometimes when things start out bad, they get better. And
That's true. So true.
You know, again, true love can blossom. It's Beauty and the Beast again. Again, like, I don't know if enemies is maybe exactly the right way, but, like, what a beautiful story. What a beautiful romance that's developed by this, you know, he's captured her. He's hideous.
Yeah.
But they
Vegeta
find
and Bulma.
love. Vegeta and Bulma is an excellent example, and is beautiful and phenomenal. And so, again, it just forced proximity is sort of an example where usually the forced proximity is more general, where you know two characters are put together and they're stuck together, and then they have to learn to work together. And that's really important. It's, you know, you're to have that narrative tension, you have to have things smushed. And then enemies to lovers is maybe just a more specific example of that. But you know, I mean, and yeah, okay.
So Daniel's favorite romantasy and romance novel trope is enemies to lovers
Enemies
/
to lovers.
forced proximity. Thank you,
Yes,
Daniel, for your
you're very
honesty.
Forced proximity.
Let's do. What do you have any feelings? Strong feelings for Sam? You go for this one. I gotta pick the last one.
Okay. We did, but you marked it out.
There's still one I don't want you to pick.
Interesting. I really want to pick. So it's similar to mine, but we could do that.
That or
that. Which
yeah.
one were you saying?
Maybe this one, but that's kind
Yeah.
of similar to what we just made him do.
That is true.
This is fantastic radio.
Yeah, I know. My bad. So, okay, yeah, we'll do this. We'll
Okay.
do Why are alien and otherworldly mentors bad?
And go.
You know, a man should just like know what he wants to do. He doesn't need any sort of help ever. I mean, this is a defense for the barbarian. Like, you know, other people, like, you know, from extraterrestrial, like, you know, ancient wisdom, like, no, thank you. I know what I'm doing. I am a strong-willed person, man, and I don't need to know about that stuff. Even if you show me like really amazing things. Honestly, like all of the characters in Yankee
Yeah.
that
Connecticut
like
Yankee.
yeah, Connecticut Yankee that were like, no thank you to this like fancy technology. Like those guys had it right.
Yes.
And ultimately the other guy, he got that Catholic thing that like made it to where, you know, what was the thing that happened? You know, what was it called? Where they shut up they shut off the city basically. Anyways, it got them into a lot of trouble that they did not need to have happen.
Very
and
true.
he was like a mentor with like otherworldly stuff, and it just gets you in a lot of trouble. And I don't think it's like compelling as a story, because you could just have a guy like just doing the same thing he does, and that's interesting. Like, you know, he just tell as old as time. Like you know, farmer tends his crops.
Druss has no counselors.
Druss, he talks to some spirits, but he's like, no, thank you. I'm gonna do my way. And, you know, that lady helps with his knees, but at the same time, he's like, I'm still going to fight with these bad knees. And she's like, don't do it. And he's like, I don't take to that otherworldly stuff. I'm just going to fight. And that's what I love.
All right. So Sam hates alien and otherworldly mentors. Thank you for your honesty,
We
Sam.
don't need help.
Okay, I do want to know, what was the one you didn't want us to pick?
I did not want you to pick Sword and Sorcery Duo or Dungeon Crawl.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay.
All right. So what was your rapid fire here to close this out?
So with the last ones, I want you to describe, for all the likes and dislikes left to you, in one word, why you like it or why you dislike it. In one word. One word.
Okay.
The word can be penis if it needs to be.
All right.
It can't
I
be.
don't think it will be.
It can't be vagina though.
So, Steven, you're up.
Okay. One word.
Yeah, but not penis. Yes, penis, but not vagina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roger that. Lost. So one of my remaining likes. We'll do my remaining likes. So Lost Civilization trope.
One word. Ubiquitous.
One word, dude. That
Or if you had to describe it as a actor, who would it be?
just as an actor. Okay.
And the role and a role that they played.
You're gonna have to do a little bit of editing here at the end, Sam.
I don't think so. Let's keep it this way.
Okay. Lost Civilization. Actor. Christopher Lee. His entire filmography. This is stream of consciousness. I can't even tell you why that's the case. Chosen One trope. Timothy Chalamet. Dune is too obvious. We'll say Little Women.
This is why I wanted to do this. Go on. Chosen one.
Animal companions trope. Old Yeller. In Old Yeller.
So sad.
Dislikes. Assassins.
Michael Fassbender in
No,
Assassin's
no.
Creed.
This is again okay. Dislike the assassins trope. I'm gonna have to go with a one word for this. I can't think of an actor off the top of my head. Boring.
Nice.
Magic systems. Okay, magic systems. Again, off the cuff. Don't know what this means. Pre-Tropic Thunder, Matthew McConaughey.
Like how to lose a guy in 10 days. That system is pretty dumb.
Okay. Dislike. Multiverse. The Marvel Cinematic Universe post
Yeah.
Avengers Endgame.
Any of the actors, right?
And then final dislike. Love triangles.
4 Christmases.
Meg Ryan.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know why.
Any movie she's in.
It just is. I don't know why, but that's what you asked for, and this is weird, and I'm uncomfortable.
Honestly, I feel like it answers it perfectly. But go on.
Wow.
All right, Daniel.
Okay.
One word or actor,
Here,
actress.
you want to
in
use mine because
movies.
I was
You
marking
mark
off.
things out?
I was marking
Yeah,
off
we'll swap.
what we were doing.
Okay. Unnecessary
These
details.
are your likes. So just
Oh yeah,
say
exactly.
likes.
I need to actually take a second and remember I'm not reversing these now.
Right. Yeah.
My likes
This is
are
why
actually
you
things I
like it, and it might be Meg Ryan.
Okay. Unnecessary details. I'll go with astounding.
All right. Yeah,
Astounding.
sure.
As your word, yeah.
Campfire
Chose word.
stories. Our homie.
Nice. Okay.
Damsel in distress. Sydney Sweeney.
What movie?
Uh
Euphoria.
I've not seen Euphoria.
I don't think it counts, but go on.
We're in our mid-30s.
I can't remember a movie.
Euphoria.
Yeah.
Just any Instagram reel.
Yeah. Maps. Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit.
Nice.
And not Bilbo, but Martin Freeman.
Nice.
That
Yeah,
Bill.
yeah.
Not Ian.
Yeah. Anthropology. Fascinating will be my one word.
I do want to point out that you spelled anthropology like the store when you texted this to me.
Yeah. Or French. The French way.
There we go. Okay. Nice.
Yeah. Power
Dislikes.
bad.
Dislikes.
Yeah, dislikes. Power bad week good. Played out with a hyphen, so it's one word.
Yeah. Played out. Compound.
Unlikely allies.
The other guys.
I mean, yeah, that does work. That one
But
actor.
you like that. Yeah.
But disliked. Yeah. It just again played out is like it's so much of these like played out as
You got
the
it.
way
You
I
got it. You
feel.
got some actors in you. I know it. You can circle back if you want, but
Yeah.
I know you have actors in a movie or a book. There's a reason you don't like that.
Bickering and grumps are really like kind of the same thing. And Jason Statham. He's just so grumpy.
Just for bickering
There you go.
and
All
grump.
right.
And yeah, there it is.
I don't remember what I have done and not
Well,
really.
yeah, here,
Yeah,
take
use
take
this
the list.
You don't have to do those marked off ones.
Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna have to bounce back and forth because I didn't list them the correct way. Reluctant hero is a dislike. I would say boring for reluctant hero. Lost or forbidden knowledge as a like. National treasure, Nick Cage.
Nice. Nice.
The magical weapon. Elric
All right.
and Stormbringer.
That's not an actor though.
It's a character in a story.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
If someone was to play Elric, it would probably be
Tom Hiddleston.
Tom
Yeah.
Hiddleston
He was always my
or
Elric, I think.
I could see
dude,
Dave
dude
Tennant,
who's in
maybe.
House of Dragon.
Matt Smith.
Yeah, Matt
Yeah,
Smith.
I could. Yeah,
He
yeah, I could see
basically
that.
looks exactly
Yeah.
like what I would
Yeah,
picture
I
him to
could
be.
see that too.
Evil Empire, Palpatine, Star Wars, the latest one.
Somehow.
Somehow
This trope
it's him. Ancient Evil Returns.
Oh,
Oh, Ralph Ralph Fiennes.
Oh, I thought it'd be Pumpkin again.
Rafe.
Harry Potter. No, this is a like.
I know.
Yeah. Also a like, chosen one. God, there's so many to pick from this one. I mean, honestly, in the Star Wars, like Luke, Mark Hamill as Luke.
See, he's giving like actual answers to this, Daniel.
I know.
Sword and Sorcery
See how
duo.
see how he changed the rules to make us look silly?
What? I didn't know.
Yeah, no, sure. Go
I
ahead.
didn't even have this.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Am I on Sword and Sorcery duo
Yep.
as a dislike?
No, that's the other guys.
Yeah, I was thinking more of that one with Kevin Hart and somebody. I think it was Mark Wahlberg, but yeah, it's that movie. Or maybe
It's probably Kevin Hart and The Rock.
maybe yes, that one.
Yeah.
Not good. I don't like that mashup trope when it's done that. Like the only one that's good is Fawford and Grey Mouser, basically, in my opinion. And every other attempt has been Kevin Hart and The Rock. Political intrigue and betrayal. I mean, that would be Peter Dinklage, Game of
Sure.
Thrones,
Yep.
the best one. Dungeon Crawl. I think this is a hot take, but it's Indiana Jones, and probably the one that's not Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom.
Last Crusade.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting. You chose poorly.
Tech versus magic. I like that. I would say probably Timothy Chalamet and Dune. I think that's great.
There you go.
That seems
Not
like
Timothy Chalamet and Little Women.
No, equally good, but there's not a lot of tech versus magic in that.
So we were watching different movies, I guess.
Mind possession / control. I would honestly say it would be Westworld and Aaron Paul in
Interesting.
season 3.
Okay.
I think that's really
Nice.
good. And that's me.
All right.
Wow.
Nice little quick fire round there at the end there, Samwise. Thank you. This has been another episode of the Under Towers podcast. My name is Steven.
Daniel.
Sam.
If you enjoyed tonight's episode, please leave us a comment, like, and a subscribe. Tell us some of the tropes that you like and dislike, but reverse it and tell us why things that you like suck and why things that you hate are great. Give us a like, subscribe. It helps us out with the algorithm. You can find us all on Instagram. You can find the podcast on Instagram and X or whatever it's called.
And Spotify.
Yeah, and thank you to RFK Jr. for his insightful comments about Soldier's Garden. We look forward to hearing more from him in the future if he's so kind as to show back up.
Yeah,
All right.
what tropes does he like?
What tropes does he like? I shudder to think. All right.